This week I had a little incident. A fellow who writes to me quite often, his name is Ivor Cat, and I have no problem. He writes to me. I think I have all his mails. I archive them usually. Sometimes I answer them. Okay, and so he wrote a letter this week, and he copies several people. Among them, he copied me. Okay, and he was a professor at the couple universities. Both in England and in the United States, I think. He worked also for Motorola and so on. Well, anyways, and that's his last name, Cat with two T's, and that's not Schrodinger's cat, by the way. Okay, that's a different cat. So he comes up with a cat question, okay? And he says, to the recipients of this email, try to get a teacher, professor, or textbook writer with the expertise in electromagnetic theory to comment on this below, okay? And worldwide, they are protecting and continue to teach false theory. I would like to add their comments too, and he gives a site. Okay, and specifically, he likes to talk about electricity. Okay, what is electricity? That's the bottom line. That's a topic I want to address with him as well. And the issue here is the following. Not only do the rest of the world teach the wrong electricity, so does Mr. Cat. They all teach the wrong or the irrational electricity. You say, why irrational? Well, here's what you get taught when you go to college, okay? You go to college, they teach you this. So all electricians, all these people, they learn the same thing. And they learn that this is a circuit. When you close the circuit, well, you have electrons going around, okay? And they go from atom to atom, right? Again, we don't know what the atom looks like. It's supposed to be this ball with a little bead on the end. The bead is, especially the valence bead, the last one, right? That's the one that's going to go around, okay? And you're supposed to think of this as iron or copper, more complicated atoms than just hydrogen. Okay, so they have this beads going around. Well, the question is whether this is electricity. Is this what's happening in your wires in your house? And we have a different proposal, also under the rope model. And it goes something like this. Let me get this up here. Oh, no, well, let me go one step extra. One of the irrationalities, or one of the, I call it Ptolemaic explanation. And here you see why. Here's an AC circuit, okay? And this is what these people are proposing. They're proposing that the polarities change. You can see the positive and negative are switched around. It's like if you switched your battery on whatever, on a clock or whatever, you switch it back and forth constantly at the speed of light almost, or very fast. You switch it back and forth to produce AC, alternate current. See, the first one was DC, the direct current. This one is AC. It goes back and forth. It changes direction. And, that is a Ptolemaic explanation for electricity. Part of the problem is, you send it from one end, it takes a long time to arrive at the other end. Whether you push one electron forward along the series of atoms, or whether you just send one electron all around. Either way, it takes some time to get there. And that causes some problems explaining electricity, especially how electricity works. Okay? And so how do we start? Well, I'm going to do it with iron. Okay, so here's the iron, the element iron, okay, the iron atom. Okay, and you can see it's quite complex. And according to the rope model, all those are threads that weave balloons. Those are real live balloons. They are membranes. Okay, so these are not orbitals or regions or whatever. No, these are actual balloons. There is no electron bead running around. It's just the balloons. We're going to look at the outer one. So if you get an idea there, it's a little ball that's got all these things sticking out, okay? So keep that in mind for a second, because I'm going to show you now what we do with this atom. We're going to take the iron atom, okay? And we're going to build a wire with it. That's the one on the top, okay? We're going to build a wire, and we're just going to put all these iron atoms connected to each other. They blend into each other. That's a long story. I've explained it in the past, but right now I just want to go on. We make this wire, Okay, and that's a wire there, made of iron. Okay, just pure iron. What you see on the bottom is that the molecules in there, okay, are rotating. They're all merged together. It's a long, thin, you're talking about molecular level here. That's cross section is just one atom radius, so you're talking about the angstrom range here, something very extremely small, okay? And you got these, and they're rolling, they're spinning. Okay, they're spinning when you turn on the electricity. That's what I'm going to explain, okay? So let's look at a circuit now. And you can see the iron circuit, okay? And there it is. When you pull down the switch and you have electricity flowing, what you're doing is torquing all this snake that rolls around. The head is tied to its tail, okay, of the snake. The whole thing is twisting on itself, okay? So if you look at it from one side, you say it's going clockwise. If you look at it from the other side, it's counterclockwise. Mother Nature understands clockwise and counterclockwise. Mother Nature does not understand what this positive and negative stuff that Benjamin Franklin invented. She has no clue what Benjamin Franklin was talking about. What is this positive, negative? That's just mathematical gibberish. Here we're talking about physics. We're saying, how does Mother Nature do her trick? I mean, that's a physical thing. Or are you going to put spirits in there and say, well, no, that's done with concepts. That's done with energy. No, if you're going to do it with energy, you're introducing concepts, undefined concepts, or as Mr. Feynman said, no one knows what energy is. Okay? Yeah, nobody knows what energy is. You got to do it with a physical object. Here you have iron. These are atoms. They're all merged together. They spin. And as soon as you turn the electricity on, and that's a long story, I've explained it in the past, but I'm not going to go over that now. But what it does is send it in both directions, through the tail and through the head of the snake that's, coiled around. And so the snake turns in both in its tail and its head at the same time. Okay, so it's all twirling, okay, on itself. Okay, that's electricity according to us. And so that's a little different than the little ball that goes all around. Okay, we have a different mechanism for electricity because we have a different proposal. Okay, and just in case, we add one more level to that, which is an interesting point. Okay, and that's that as the atoms spin, the row of atoms spins, some of the threads come loose and they form what is called the magnetic field. So now the magnetic field runs what? 90 degrees perpendicular to the flow of current. So whereas the spiral, the clockwise and counterclockwise, you look straight at the wire, it's running either clockwise or counterclockwise, depending on which way the current is flowing. Well, the threads are spinning always 90 degrees to the so-called flow of current, okay, direction of current. Okay, so that explains also why magnetism runs 90 degrees to electricity always. And they're perpendicular to each other. Okay, and here you see a little more evidence, proof. This is the religion part, okay? I'm trying to convince you here, okay? So just keep that in mind. We're not talking science at this moment. You can see that at the bottom left, if you put a magnet underwater, it collects the iron filings one at a time. It doesn't, there's something flowing in there. A magnetic field is something in motion inside a magnetic field. And I'm saying that those threads, those lines of force that Faraday talked about, they are actually threads that are spinning. The thread is a physical entity. Now you can do something with that. You can't do that with energy. You can't do that with particles which are not particles, or with waves which are not even objects. You have to do with a physical object. Otherwise, you are, in effect, introducing spirits in that same space. Okay? So what's the deal with Mr. Cat? Well, I wrote a letter back, just a real quick one, explaining that, I have a different model of electricity. So I told him the following. I said, the funny part about all you so-called dissidents is that none of you are any different whatsoever than the establishment you criticize and that you claim persecutes and censors you. from the electric universe to the Chapman etherists to the flat earthers to the mechanics of quantum and relativists, both special and general, you are all in the same boat. As far as we're concerned, you're all in the same boat because you're in the movement of concepts and you're pushing particles, which are not particles. Some of them say they are. The dissonants usually say that they're real particles. Those are the etherists. And the other guys are the non-etherists, but they do ether as well. Just each one of their particles is just an abstraction. Okay, so what did what happened next? Well, we have another gentleman come in, and he was on the list, and he was a little ticked off, maybe because I analyzed him in the past. I don't know if you remember, about a year ago, I analyzed Mr. David DeHilster, and his father. And I think they are the leaders, the heads of the John Chappell Society. I call them the John Chapel Society because I think they do religion. Okay, and he was a little ticked off, maybe because he realized that I was criticizing him indirectly, or who knows why. But he felt a little offended that he was on the list. He wasn't complaining against me. He was complaining against, like, who put me on this mailing list, right? Says, who creates these email chains whose discussion get lost in the proverbial ether? Yeah. People hijack your email, include you in discussions without permission, and they think that is morally okay. Sort of like a group of people who open the door of your home, walk in, and start discussing something without your permission. Well, to some degree, he's right. It doesn't bother me, but I can imagine some people may not like to receive emails or be included in distribution lists. And so, what happened next? Well, what happened next was that he was this man, Ivor Cat, he replied. And it was his reply that I liked the most. That made me laugh. And I want to share that one with you if I can find it. Here it is. And he said the following. He says, stay away from Bill Gates. He said, dear David, my work is silenced, misrepresented. I am defamed in peer-reviewed journals which say I am bizarre, outside of academia and structured research. And then the next thing he says, block Gady. I love that one. That made me laugh. I cracked up. He said, block Gady. They're censoring me, but block Gady. So yeah, that gives you an idea how we're all human. We're all human. That's what it comes down to. And I think if the electric universe were running the show, they would block the relativists. And if the flat earthers were running the show, they would block all of us.